This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. And we're live. It's not live if you're listening to this podcast, but we are live together.
Yes,
this is the Laugh Cry Club. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea. And if you've ever felt like laughing and crying at the same time, then this podcast is for you.
We're so glad you're here. Thank you so much for the support of this podcast. If you like this podcast, please share with a friend. You can listen on any platform. We are on social media. You can follow us at Laugh Cry Club. We post some funny things there. We're all about kind of having more fun than cries, trying on social media. But thank you so much. This week, we're going to go through our laughs and our cries. We're going to talk about boundaries. We talked about it some in last week's episode, and then we just decided, look, a lot of the stuff we talk about has layers beyond layers. So let's go into boundaries a little bit more, and then we will give the teaser for next week's topic. So who wants to kick us off with our laugh and cry, Chelsea?
Well, today I'm really excited about my laugh and my cry. And so I'm going to nominate me.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my cry, my sweet, sweet, sweet son who has such a tender heart. He is so compassionate. He's so attuned emotionally and spiritually in a way that he was born that way. He had a brain bleed as a baby. And I always said that it gave him this magical gift of being connected spiritually in a way that others don't have. And he's on the wrestling team, which has been very counterintuitive when you're a sweet, sweet soul.
Yeah.
Very counterintuitive. When you win, you feel bad. He feels bad. When he loses, he feels bad. There has been a lot of tears and a lot of big feelings and emotions. And he has stuck with this. We are on year 3. And this tournament we had this weekend, it was a massive, massive, massive tournament. And it's like all of a sudden everything clicked. He could be present and be wrestling on that mat. I guess maybe not have all the empathetic feelings while he was in it. But then afterwards, when he, beat a kid, he would give the kid a hug at the end. Or when he got beat, it was like, well, that kid's a senior and it was his last year wrestling. So it's probably good that he beat me because, he's not going to get to do it again. And I am. So his perspective has changed and he's gotten really strong. He's always been very strong, but his body is growing and changing. He's 15 now. And watching him on the mat, just, he's an athlete. And Rebecca and Joy, you're athletes, so you understand this. I'm not an athlete.
We say that lightly.
What? You're both athletes.
I use that term loosely.
Okay,
but thank you.
Accept it, Joy. You are. I've had to have some radical acceptance around that term in myself too.
Actually,
audience,
fair.
Don't let them. Joy's arms. Are unbelievable. We call Rebecca a joke,
genetics.
Sexy pecs.
Yes.
You just let the cat out of the bag. Oh my God. I don't think Joy knows that joke, actually.
Well, now she does.
I'm going to have to give you the update.
I mean, these women are very fit and they are athletes and they compete. I do not. But watching my son out there competing, he took 3rd place in the tournament in his weight class. It was just unbelievable. I'm so proud of him. And I love how it's all come together. I don't know. It just makes me tear up in all of the ways to hear his wisdom, to hear his insight, to hear how much his perspective has changed. I'm just so proud to be his mother. And man, watching him wrestle is such a joy.
I could just see you in the crowd too. Were you like cheering him on and like, go?
Oh, I get on the mat. in the corner. Yeah, I get on my knees on the mat and I like yell like, go Miles. And then his last one, his coaches had like, you're supposed to have a coach in your corner. And the coaches, I don't know where they were. So I stood in the corner and I don't know how to coach him. So I'm just like, go Miles. And then I saw some kids from his school and I was like, get over here. You need to coach him. And then he had ended up having a bunch of people for his last big match in the corner cheering for him. And we know energy's contagious. It was a contagious moment of just amazing to watch. So I tear up in the happiest way possible seeing my kids grow up into being really awesome humans and doing things that I would have never done at their age. I was on the swim team and like was a very fake athlete. I only did it because I didn't like sweating. And yeah.
You're a fake athlete?
Yeah, I got an award once for the head of the jacuzzi club.
What? Is that a real or
No, it was like a joke because I would hold my breath for a really long time. Sometimes I'd smoke a little pot before I went to the swim practice, and then I would get tired. Yeah, I was no, I mean I was a kid. I was kind of wild,
of course.
And then I would hold my breath under the water for as long as I could just to avoid swimming laps. And then I'd get caught and have to get out and do push-ups in my bathing suit in front of everyone, which was absolutely horrifying as a teenager.
Great. It doesn't surprise me, and I love it.
Not an athlete over here, y'all. Not an athlete. A good roller skater, but not an athlete. So that was my cry. My laugh was, y'all, I finally got a car.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
you
I did. It was so fun. I found this new guy, Ronnie, and we were going back and forth on the phone, told him my deal, you know, how I do. And then I called him and I said, get ready, Ronnie. I'm on my way. So you ready?
Was this a different dealership?
Yes.
Okay, so the woman where you walked out on,
Don,
you were like, I don't want any of these cars because they didn't have the cars.
And I don't want to deal with that woman anymore because of the bringing in the sales, like making me feel like, oh, well, you can't leave until my salesperson comes. That was a huge problem. I'm completely switched. So I found a new person, told them the deal, told them the thing, all the things, and drove down, had the best car buying experience, did my paper with what I wanted to pay. And he was like, Chelsea, you have to be reasonable. And I said, Ronnie, this is reason. I just initialed if you can get this payment, I'm in.
Awesome.
And they were dying. We went back and forth. The finance guy had to come in. At one point, I called my brother-in-law because he has some connection with Hyundai. He got on and he started saying this friends and family thing. Then he hung up and then I showed him the deal I got and he said, let it rip. He couldn't even do better. Y'all, I got it for $200 over the, what is it? The
MSRP?
dealer. They made $200 off me. That's it. My payment is like nothing.
Wow. They basically gave you a free car.
Yeah.
But they sold a car and were kind of towards the end of the month, which if you've ever listened to the episode of This American Life about car dealerships, it is one of the best episodes ever. And it talks all about
the end of the month.
Yes, the car dealership strategies and how they operate. It was, to this day, I still remember. It's probably like a 10-year-old episode. And if you just Google it, it's like probably one of their top episodes. So good. There's all this stuff to it that they have to like sell a car. So good for you. You just got it. You got them to sell a car. They don't care.
And they messed up on the interest rate. And then he came in and he's like, the interest rate. And I was like, Ronnie. And he's like, I already know. So they gave me all these checks that I had to sign, these friends and family checks. Each check is $200 and you have to sign them. Like they give you the money. So we had to do 4 of those and he had to give me $1,000 some other thing. Anyways, we did lots of wild stuff only to say that I got a killer deal. I have not had a new car, like brand new, since 2007.
Nice.
It's been a really, really, really long time. So that was fun. Now I have a guy who sells cars, so I will be back to purchase other things as my kids need cars in the future. And it was just enjoyable. It was so fun. I had to go back the next day to get some blue light thing installed. And it was a bunch of guys and they were all eating these fried chicken and sandwiches sandwiches and watching football, all the worker guys. So I sat with them and ate cookies and hung out while they worked on while they got the car stopped. It just was a really enjoyable experience. So that was my laugh. That was my cry. And maybe one day if you come visit, I'll take you for a ride.
What's the name of the car? What'd you name her?
Doesn't have a name yet.
Okay.
She doesn't have a name.
It's got to have like a B name. You got to name all your car like Bruiser. It's a cool like cameo. A cameo. It's a cool camo color, right? Like a camo green.
It's a camo green.
Maybe it's Boss.
Boss. Oh, Big Chick Energy.
Mm-hmm.
BC.
Mm-hmm. BCE.
BCE. Oh, I do like that. Okay. I've got to nominate somebody else. I think I just told my story for like 20 minutes. Okay, audience. Okay. Tightening it up, wrapping it back in. We are going to move over our lovely nominee to one of the athletes. Can you guess which one? One that recently was in a competition, slamming Red Bulls, getting awards and prizes, was not having empathy or compassion fatigue from her fellow losers.
Where are the prizes? What prize did I win? I know I got an award. I got a patch, but
okay, well, I'll let Rebecca tell you about her patch, but I thought it was a major award. What is that movie? A Christmas Story, where he gets the major award. The lamp. Yeah. Okay, passing it to you, Rebecca.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you. Yeah, so I think I'll just start with my cry. I went to participate in a high rocks competition in Dallas this weekend.
Can you spell it for people? Because a lot of people are like, what is that?
Yeah, it's HYROX. It's a competition that was created in Germany. It's really blowing up all over the place. It's just similar to a CrossFit competition. So HYROX, look it up. It's amazing and fun. I'm not going to lie, it's killer. So there's that. But on the way there, I'm like, I need to stop and use the restroom and get some gum because I forgot it. So I stop at this gas station that's really shady. Go in, come out of the bathroom. The guy behind the counter is now out in the store yelling at another guy about calling, like, hey, you can't open beers in here. And the other guy's like, I'm putting them in my cup. And he's calling them all kinds of terrible names. And they're just going back and forth. I mean, this is like, a sketchy part of town. They're yelling at each other. He's telling them, you can't do that. You can't open them. Going back and forth. It's getting really heated. I'm starting to get a little nervous. Like, are we going to start pulling out some guns here? I mean, this does happen in Dallas. So I'm like, I'm not going to even make it to this competition. And they're still going at it. Finally, the guy gets behind the counter and is going to ring him up. Then this other guy is there and he's getting nervous. He knocks over a freaking display everywhere. And I'm like helping the guy. What?
Because he was nervous? He knocked things over? Yeah.
Because he was just a customer.
Yeah.
And this scenario was happening. We're both in there with them, like, because he opened 2 beers in the store, put them in a cup. He's like, I'm going to pay for him, man. And so, he went up and he was going to pay for him and cash in his lottery tickets. But the guy was so mad that he opened his beers in the store and he can't do that. And I'm thinking, can we just de-escalate, bring this down? Like, am I going to have to mediate this?
I just need gum.
I just need gum.
All you needed was gum. I mean, I would have just thrown $1 on the
out. And this other customer is nervous about it. He knocks over a whole display stand. I'm like helping him pick that stuff up. Finally, I check out, but that was scary. Make it to the event, do my burpee broad jumps, which I hate. Threw up all over the place afterwards. So that was my cry.
No, you didn't.
I did. So I got to the trash can afterwards and I'm like having some water and, I'm like leaning over the trash can and I'm doing a little of
heaving,
expelling. And
hold on, is expelling barfing?
Yes.
Okay.
I was trying to be nice.
She's trying to be,
just a little bit. And then, you drink some water and you're like, get yourself together because I don't like throwing up. I try to get it under control.
I'm the same
So I'm
way.
Trying to compose myself.
I don't think anyone
get
likes
it under
control. It's so violent.
It's
so violent. Your body's so violently.
It's like I got to run again, right? So I'm like, I grabbed a little bit of water.
Oh, you had to run after that?
Yeah.
Says the woman who told me she's not an athlete. Are you all hearing this? Barfing, running, athlete.
I accepted it. Joy said she's not an athlete.
Well, by the way, Rebecca, at some point we have to talk about the fact that you and I are doing a partner High Rocks event in February. So
we will.
If anyone's in Vegas, come see us.
Come see us. So then I get the water and I'm on the race course and I'm like, okay, Rebecca, like I'm thinking, I think it's done, right? Take a drink of water and I'm like, I'm going to start running. Soon as I start running, immediately, like, I'm like, oh God. And like, it just went all over the race course. And I'm like, hustling my butt into like the corner by like, I'm looking for a trash can, right? I want to be polite and throw up in a trash can because nobody wants to clean your barf up off the floor.
Trigger warning for anyone who's like sensitive to those stories. Just, is it going to get
trigger warning?
Do they need a disclaimer?
No, keep going.
Okay.
Chelsea's
I'm serious from experience. People will write in and be like, you got to give.
Yeah. So then I go to the corner and it's a full on expel the devil. So I just barfed all over the place. And then I'm like, oh, at least I had some water, washed my mouth out and carried on.
And you
had gum.
And you had gum.
Yeah, I had gum. But then I felt bad every time I ran by, it was still there for all the events.
No.
Were people running in the barf?
No, it was off the course.
Okay, good.
No.
It was in a corner.
Okay.
It was like, like I kind of tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for whoever was going to have to clean it up. I really apologize. That's my cry,
broad
though.
jumps is what does it for you. Okay, so when we do our competition, I can do those.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome to do them all.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind tapping in for a few, but I was so nauseous.
Oh, man. That sucks. That's the worst
Terrible.
feeling.
So that was your cry, right?
That's my cry.
Oh, my gosh. It is funny. It's horrible.
It is.
Yeah. It's a laugh cry. It's a laugh cry.
Yeah, that was my cry. So my laugh, I think I told you to this the other day, but I'll share it for my listeners here, or our listeners. Just to find show suddenly. Thanks for supporting me.
Queen Rebecca.
Sorry. But I have some problems with these neighborhood kids that like to tear up the whole street. Anyway, a few weeks ago, they did like tear up my mailbox. So I had a conversation with the parentals about it, but they were back out on a Friday night. I opened the door and I'm like, hey, I sound so terrible. I'm like, because they had thrown their ball in my yard. I'm like, hey, you guys, don't mess with my mailbox again. You broke it last time. And they're like, okay, ma'am. Okay, they continue to play. They're just being loud and obnoxious. There's like 10 middle schoolers out there. And I'm like, where are these darn parents? There's no supervising them, right? So
well, I mean, middle school, do you have parent supervision?
I was very supervised, okay?
I'm like,
Rebecca, you could literally be in my neighborhood and those could be my kids.
Oh, shoot. No, they're very, your kids like wreak havoc and trash the whole neighborhood and break things?
They don't trash it, but they're they're loud and having fun, and
I don't mind that. But it's when you start breaking things.
Yeah, they don't break.
Well, these are the kids that threw this knife in my whole yard. Like, yeah, that's just weird.
I agree.
So I have this really handy dandy new sprinkler system that's on my phone. It's controlled by my phone. So I went to my office and looked out the window. I was watching them. And I'm like, I told Robin, I'm like, I'm going to turn the sprinklers on them. She's like, don't you do that. And I'm like, whatever. I went to my office and I turned the sprinklers on for 5 minutes because they had their shoes off and everything in my yard. They were like all scurried as fast as they could back to their own yard.
Oh my god.
And then Robin shouted, that's life, baby.
That's life, baby.
Yeah. So that's my laugh. I was like, this is so comical that I am turning sprinklers on these kids.
That is pretty funny. And also being like, hey, don't mess up my mailbox.
I was like, next time they do it, I'm going to get my lawn chair and cooler and go sit outside.
That is legit the get off
in my sports
lawn.
bra and just hang out there and supervise these kids.
You legit got them off your lawn. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to pass this over now to the wonderful, magnificent, fuzzy boot wearing, lovely dog walker pal from Colorado, Joy.
Okay, these intros are making me laugh so hard that we're doing. It's great. Okay, my laugh this week just happened this morning. You know those moments where you get the giggles, like you're trying so hard not to laugh, and like an inopportune time. It's an inappropriate time to laugh. Okay.
Yeah.
So I went to my ear, nose, and throat doctor this morning because I had to get an updated hearing test. So I have hearing loss in one of my ears. It's from like childhood, and I had surgeries. And so you too, Rebecca?
Yeah, I didn't have a surgery, but I do have hearing loss.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you more about it at a later date.
Would love to hear about it. So growing up, I had a ton of ear infections, and then I had to have a bunch of surgeries on my ear to whatever, correct some things, but it left me with some hearing loss. So I always have to go get like updated hearing tests and make sure like I have a hearing aid that I use. And so I go into the booth. If you've never had a hearing test before, you have to like sit in this soundproof booth, and they put like these contraptions on your ears, and they play sounds, and you have to like press the buzzer when you hear the sound. And then they started every time I go, because I don't have to go every year, but every time I go, they have like some new test, some new thing that they add to the test. And I don't know why I thought it was so funny, but I was trying so hard not to laugh. But they had this, she's like, you're going to hear words, and I just need you to repeat the words. Okay. And she's sitting, the audiologist technician is sitting outside, like on her computer doing whatever they're doing. And she's like controlling the whole thing that's going on inside the booth. Okay. So you're like sitting in this soundproof booth that makes you feel funny as it is. And then I also just can't help but think of like how many times I've done this, and like me as a little girl, and in the old days you just had to like raise your hand when you heard a buzz, you know. So like I'm just like, wow, this is really funny. So now they do this thing where they're like, please repeat the word. And then all of a sudden there's this guy that's in my ear that he's like, repeat the word bath. And I just like the sound of his voice. And then he gets to this, repeat the word hot dog. And I'm like, hot dog. And it just felt so silly that I was trying so hard not to laugh, because I'm like, this sounds so stupid, but I don't know why. It's not funny objectively. It's just not funny. But I just got the giggles. And I was trying so hard to not lose it. And then he's like, repeat the word oatmeal. And I'm like, I just like lost it in the booth, and I start laughing, and I'm like, oatmeal. And I'm sure the audiologist was like, why is she laughing at this? So I just like had my own little like giggle moment that was just so stupid, almost like when you're in church trying to keep it together for like whatever. So that was my laugh today. I had a good old like cracking up in the audiology booth. And then my cry was this weekend. I think last week I'm talking about my parents a lot because of the stuff that we're going through with my family. But after my mom got back from Arizona, she came down with a really bad case of shingles. I think my mom's had it like once before, a long time ago. People who are older, really susceptible. I've heard it's like insanely painful. Well, they have not yet received, to my knowledge now, I was really on them about this, but they haven't had the shingles vaccine yet. So she got such a horrible case of it. And she called me Saturday or Sunday morning, and I was like checking in on her, and she sounded in so much pain. I've never heard her voice like that before, that I was like, oh my gosh, you need to go to the emergency room. So she went to the ER, but like the whole time, and she's okay. She's feeling much better. They gave her like a lot of good meds. But just that moment again where I felt like, it just reminds you of those times in your life where you get so worried and so scared. And I was like kind of just stuck in this panic until I knew she was okay, that I was trying so hard to not go to worst case scenario, like especially with loved ones, that you just want them to be safe and okay. I immediately go to that place of like worrying so much about them not being okay, where objectively shingles happens to a lot of people and they're fine. But with my mom, like, what if she got something else, and what if this pain just took her out, and so I had to really kind of talk myself off a ledge. And then the next thing I know, she called and she's like, I feel so much better. They give me prednisone, and I like got all this medication on board. But it just, again, like reminded me and all of us of like, we can't control the universe, and we just have to like breathe through times that are scary. And those are my laughs and cries.
Wow, Joy, I'm so glad your mom's feeling better, because I've never had shingles. I don't know if I'm in the age range for it yet, but yeah, I've heard other people, and it's really painful.
Well, the second that they left the ER. They had to go fill some prescriptions, and my dad saw like a sign for the shingles vaccine, and he's like, "Can I get that right now?" Because he was like, "I don't want like watching her go through it." He's like, "I never want to ever." Little PSA out there, anyone who's of the age to get your shingles vaccine, because oh my gosh, that sounded so painful. Okay, moving on. Chelsea, let's kick us off into the topic of the week, boundaries. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so this is such an important topic, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Boundaries. Boundaries don't sound fun, but they make you more fun, because you're protected and you're not giving away energy and emotions and things that are going to make you cranky and more stressed and more uptight. So it's a really good time of year for us to be talking about boundaries as we go into the holiday season, and also as we start the new year, and you can kind of think about some things that you want to leave and some things that you want to add and take with you. So we're going to start with defining what are boundaries. So I would say, very simply put, I like to just use Brene Brown's definition, is boundaries are what's okay and what's not okay. I put them in 4 categories. So when we're talking about what's okay and what's not okay, I'm holding up my 4 fingers so I can count right. Values. So your values, you want to have some boundaries with that. Your time, your energy, and your emotions. So I'll say it again. Boundaries, for me, the most simplified way is what's okay when it comes to my time, my energy, my emotions, and my values. And when I think about these things, I think if time's an obvious one, right? Are you having some, conversation you don't want to be having and someone's taking up loads of your time? Right? This happens sometimes. You get into it with somebody and they're yakking away. I could be the one yakking away because I talk a lot. And you don't want to hear what they're saying or what I'm saying. Like that could be a time boundary. Emotions, you talk to somebody and you feel really bad about yourself afterwards. You feel, emotionally sad or angry. Somebody's kind of hitting you the wrong way. Energy, that obvious one to me is when you feel really drained after an interaction. And then the last one would be values, and values are really your own things that matter. And so I have lots of examples, but I'm going to pass this back to the group for some personal examples of how you define some of your boundaries.
Yeah, this is an extension of what we talked about last week. And I see a lot of boundary talk on social media. You have to set a boundary. And I think it can be kind of overused or maybe not really understanding what that means. So I'm glad, Chelsea, that you're kind of breaking it down into time, energy, emotions, values. It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to kind of learn what that means for you. Each individual is going to have their own type of boundary and what feels right. For example, in my life, I know that there are, for better or for worse, anyone listening who's my friend, this is probably not apply to you, but there are people in my life who, if they call, I know it's going to be a 2-hour conversation. And I personally hate talking on the phone. So I will not answer my phone, or I will schedule a time to talk with this person. This kind of goes with work too, where if someone is wanting to meet with me and I know that they will kind of push time, I'm very, very strict with meetings starting on time and ending on time. That is a me thing when it comes to work. There's a lot of differing opinions about this, but I think starting on time is a respectful way to honor everyone's time. And I think ending on time is the same. So I will.
Okay, so I want to call something out right there. So Joy's value is to be respectful. So yes. Her showing respect is starting on time, being respectful of her time and another's, and ending on time. So that would be an example of a value. I just wanted to call that out because I'm glad you did that. Good example.
I love that. That's a great example. Yeah, that's a great way to say that is my value. So if someone at work says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I will and I've had experiences where people, even though I set maybe a 30-minute meeting, they'll go 45 minutes. That's my fault to not say I have to end right on 30 minutes. But the first time I've learned to go, oh, okay, now I need to be very clear. Or if I don't feel like, I don't know if this is a good idea, you guys, if this is a good example, but sometimes I will just instead of having to confront it and say, I really need to end at 30 minutes, I will purposely schedule it butting up against another meeting that I know that person has. So I know that, and look, everyone at work listening, this is not you. It's not related to you.
I love this.
Everyone at work, it's all about you.
But I'm just saying, like, this happens where I'm like, look, I'm just not gonna, my time is valuable. I'm not gonna like make this last another 15, 20 minutes. And so I will bump it up against other meetings. So it has to end, for better or for worse. Like some days I'm just like, I will say I have to leave right at the, halfway mark or whatever it is. So those are kind of things that like really irk me, is time. And then like from the personal side of things, like Chelsea, I don't like talking on the phone. So I will say, hey, I've got a quick 10 minutes to talk or whatever. So that's just something that, or I use Marco Polo. That's a great way, a boundaried way for me to communicate when I can communicate, or that length of time.
Thanks for sharing that, Joy. I'll keep that in mind when you schedule meetings with me.
It never happens with any of
Okay.
of you here.
It 100% happens with me.
It does. So I'm trying to think of an example of how I've set boundaries. And I'm thinking like with maybe like someone in my life that would call me up, and it would be like a very long conversation too. And I don't like to be on the phone for hours, but would always kind of be asking my opinion on things as from my therapist perspective. And I used to kind of fall into it, and then I just felt like it was just there was a lot of drama that was being driven around it, and like it just then the questions, if this, the A, B, and C, and then I'm thinking I am not working right now. I'm closed for business.
Closed for business, as Robin says, right?
Yes, I'm closed for business, and I just had to learn that I needed to set the boundary of I'm just going to reflect back. I'm not going to give my opinion anymore. Now I just reflect back like, oh, so what I'm hearing you say is that you are concerned what this person has said to you, and you're not sure how you want to handle that. Like put it back on them. Like I don't have to give you an example or help you give you the solution. I don't have to do that anymore. So I've just made a firm boundary to just really, let the person figure it out themselves.
I like what you're saying, Rebecca, because you're protecting yourself. So boundaries are about us. We get this really mixed up. We go, well, they're not honoring my boundaries. No, you're not honoring your boundaries.
Yes.
We have no control over how anybody else, what they do, how they respond. None of that is we don't have any control over that, I guess is what I'm trying to say in 400 words. So what Rebecca's doing is saying, you are pushing a boundary, and I'm going to give you this response that feels you're still being kind. So I would say it aligns with your values. You're still listening, which is really nice as well, but you're not crossing over into having to go into work brain. And so that's like a really nice way to protect yourself. I do want to say boundaries are flexible. So what might be okay today might not be okay tomorrow. So I really like what Rebecca said, because she's talking about upholding her own boundaries. So a misconception that we have is that I have a boundary and now this other person needs to behave in a certain way.
Yes.
That's actually not how boundaries
not
work.
How it works. You can't control other people.
Right.
That's right. You cannot control other people. So Rebecca's still aligned with her values, at least from what I can hear. She's still being kind. She's still listening. She's still interacting, but she's not crossing her own boundary by going into work mode for an individual who she's not working with. So when we think about our values and we think about our energy and we think about our emotions, this is really our clues. We can tell, like Joy could share with her work, I'm very boundaried with my time, and this matters to me. If I show up late, Joy can say, hey, we only scheduled 30 minutes. I show up 15 minutes late. There's only 15 minutes left. That would be up to her to hold that boundary. If I say, I'm not going to stay up past 10 o'clock at night with my kids watching this movie because I'm going to be too exhausted the next day, that's up to me to put myself to bed at 10 o'clock. I can't say, oh, well, you made me watch the movie or you made me stay up. So we want to really be clear. Again, Brene Brown, clear is kind. It's okay to tell people where they end and where you begin.
Teach people how to treat you in a way.
You do teach people how to treat you.
I love that. And I love the reminder, the aha for me, because I really haven't thought about it deeply in that way of just like, this is for you. You can't change how someone else acts. and that they're going to all of a sudden follow these rules that you've set. It's for you to communicate. So the other piece that came up when you were talking, Chelsea, that I was thinking of was, another example of a couple months ago, we'd have these meetings on our calendar and the person who was the organizer kept changing them 5 minutes before the meeting would start. I mean, it happened like weeks in a row. And when I say change, it would change like 15-minute increments. And then one day it was like, I just moved it 5 minutes before the meeting was going to start. They all of a sudden were like, I moved it to tomorrow. And after like the third, fourth time this happened, I was like, I need more notice than this. And it wasn't like mad. I was just like, that's a boundary for me. I can't be that flexible. And to me, that feels a little unreasonable. So like the other part of boundaries that I think might be interesting for us to talk about too is like, you don't feel guilty asking for that. That's a healthy boundary if you're like, I just need that. We don't feel guilty. Sometimes there's this very like, I feel bad. That's a me personally. I sometimes will have this guilt attached to it, like that you're asking for something and like, you don't want to be seen as a bitch or whatever. That if you say no to something, no is a complete sentence. If you say, hey, I actually need this, that we don't feel guilty about asking for what we need.
I'm going to give a helpful tip and trick real quick. If you're struggling with boundaries, something that I teach individuals that I work with is instead of saying yes or no, say, let me think about it. So
I use that all the time.
Will you drive my kid? Will you pick up my kid from school tomorrow? I'm not sure. Let me get back to you. Let me think about it. Or can you take on this extra project at work? Let me think about it. Do you want to go for drinks Friday night? I'm not sure. Let me think about it. If my energy is really drained in the week, I may be socially tapped out and I need to think about it. So create the internal pause button and then you can come back and say, energetically, I'm really tapped out. This isn't going to work for me this week or something like that. Rebecca, I want to pass it back over to you.
Yeah. Joy, you were talking about guilt. I read this thing that said, remember that you're choosing between feeling guilty for a short time or resentful for a long time. It's talking about setting boundaries.
Oh. Mic drop. Say it again.
Remember that you're choosing between feeling guilty for a short time or resentful for a long time. And so I know, once you get used to setting boundaries, there's less guilt involved. For some of us that still struggle with this, or maybe we're new to setting boundaries, there is guilt associated with it. Let's just be honest. You feel bad sometimes, like, I don't want to do this to this person, especially if you're a people pleaser like myself. Then I feel really bad. And so, I may feel uncomfortable by setting this boundary in the beginning and feel some guilt, but that's going to be very brief considering the resentment that I'm going to end up feeling towards this person, because true. Resentment just feels heavy. It's like a boulder sitting on top of me, and then you despise this person or this situation, and it's just got a lot of negativity involved. It's so hard to come out of resentment.
And it's kind of self-inflicted, yeah? If you're
It's totally, yeah.
And
we do it to ourselves.
For the other person, because if you haven't stated your boundary, the other person doesn't know that when they're walking in, you're getting the ick. You're like, ugh, I don't want to talk to this person because they've robbed me energetically, or I had this once. I had a friend, everything was an acquaintance, negative. And finally I said, you know what? I have this boundary for myself that I'm, radically detoxing from anything that's negative. My life is already hard enough. I just can't hear it. We're going to have to talk about other things. I don't even think this individual had a clue. There was no clue. It was a long pause. Yeah, this was many years ago. And I could remember feeling bad because, again, we all want to be liked. And what other way? Just listen to bitching and complaining and blah, blah, blah. But it was a time of my life. It was actually a time of my life I was getting off of antidepressants. I'd been on antidepressants. I was getting off, and I was so emotionally vulnerable from getting off of medication, just stopping cold turkey, that I was radically protective of myself. And so I would tell myself, you can bother somebody else or you can abandon yourself. That's your choice. Which one do you want to do? And I was like, I will refuse to abandon myself. And it was really hard. But you know what? That ended up, that acquaintanceship fizzled out, because I did that so many times, and eventually there was nothing to talk about that wasn't complaining. And
Chelsea.
Go.
No, I was just going to say, I love this never abandon yourself. That's just, it's so important to hear.
Yes,
I need to hear
reminder,
that myself, right?
To never
That's
abandon
so
yourself.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Never.
Yes.
Never.
Do not abandon yourself. You can piss somebody else off or you can abandon yourself. When I think of self-abandonment too, I have the visual of me as a little kid.
Yep.
I hold on to that. We've talked about that before. When I see myself as a little kid, I can be fiercely protective because if not, I'm not as much. It's interesting. I lose it over other people. Like you have to hurt someone who I love for me to really lose it. For myself, I'm like, this isn't great, but I'm okay. But with boundaries, I really have to see myself little because if not, I will be very vulnerable to breaking my own boundaries. Very, very vulnerable. So I have to see myself as a little kid. And that's taken years and years and years. That example I just gave was probably from maybe 12 years ago. And I've been working on boundaries ever since. Boundaries are really
That's a
hard.
great tip, though, to think of yourself as a little kid, right? Because that little kid needs protecting. If you had a little kid there with you and somebody was bullying them, I bet you would step in, whether it was your little kid or somebody else that you saw happen, you'd step in. So you got to do that for yourself because you're worthy.
And the payoff is beautiful.
Oh, yes.
The payoff's so beautiful because when you're aligned, I call it heart and head connected. When you're aligned, your thoughts and your boundaries in your head are matching your heart. They're matching your values, right? You're showing up. You're telling people what's okay and what's not okay. You get to be a way better, fun, happier person because you're not walking around being pissed off, resentful, stuck in some stupid people-pleasing bullshit that you've convinced yourself you have to do.
It's so true. It's so true. I swear this podcast helps me live a better life. Like even though I mean, there's times when I'm like in the world, like driving around. I think it was at the doctor's office today. I did something that I was like, you can say no to that if you don't want to. You know, like I just caught myself even in like a people-pleasing moment where I was like, oh, you need to kind of practice what you're preaching on this podcast here. And it's such a good reminder. I mean, even we need these reminders, even though we're therapists. But thank you for that.
I just even had a thought when you were like saying I could say no to this. Do you ever get caught at the register when you're checking out and they're like, I need your email address? I used to blindly give it to them or just willing. I'm like, no, you don't need my email because I don't want your spam shit in my mailbox, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know. It just triggered me like, just say no. You could start to that stuff.
That's exactly. You start small where like even with boundaries, you can start very small where something as automatic for me, the people pleaser automatic will just be like, no, it's okay. Or whatever the case may be to kind of stop and be like, do I want that? Or don't I want? No, I don't want to share my email address. You know, like it's so we have the default responses that we've been trained to do our entire lives. And this is why it takes work is because little by little, you have to chip away and create a new habit. And that's hard work. But then guess what? That becomes the new habit. So these are all wonderfully helpful examples.
Yeah. And I'll just say, when you think about these boundaries, you can share them with somebody else. Try somebody who's really safe. Joy's mom gave her a boundary. We talked about this in last week's episode. Joy's a safe person. So she was able to receive the boundary and even talked about how amazing it was that her mom did that. So when you want to start with boundaries, start with somebody safe. Like I got in a really bad habit myself of complaining once. And then I had this boundary for myself. How much time do I actually want to bitch about the person in the grocery store? That's about 2 minutes. That's all that gets. So I would call my sister and would be like, I'm going to complain for 2 minutes and then I'm done. That's what it is. Because then my energy is going to go down. My emotions are ramping up with being irritable and angry again. My values is I actually don't have time to worry about this nonsensical things that don't actually matter. And I want to talk a little bit of shit. So I'm going to get this out, but I'm only going to give it 2 minutes. So you can ask somebody to hold you accountable if you notice that you have something you want to try out boundary wise and you want it to be with somebody who's safe. And then when people respect your boundaries, I always say, and you guys will laugh, but I always say thank you. Make sure you thank them.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for honoring my boundaries. Thank you for this. And it's hardest with the people we've been in relationship with the longest. I will say that. Boundaries with new people is super easy because they don't know you. People who you've been around for a long time can be hard. Oh, what a fruitful discussion today.
Yes, this was wonderful.
Yeah.
I am so glad we talked about this. And everyone out there, hopefully this was helpful to get you thinking about boundaries and how you can start integrating this into your life. Next week, we're going to talk about the holidays and enjoying the holidays without stressing over what has become quite popular, talking about food over the holidays and why do we need to stress about don't gain that holiday weight or you should be focusing on eating this over the holidays. We just want to talk about the holidays and enjoying it in a way that you can kind of tune out that food noise or that messaging. So we're going to be talking about some tools to help you get through that if that's something that you might struggle with. If you have questions, you can certainly email us, laughcryclub@gmail.com if you want us to address anything specific. Maybe it's holidays related, maybe it's 2025, the New Year's coming up, but we always love to hear from you and we read all the emails that come in. So that's it for this week. Anything else you guys want to add for coming up?
I want to just thank everybody that's part of this amazing club and keep sending your laughs and your cries, your questions, and description of your adventures.
Adventure.
That is so cool. Like, let's keep the adventure train going.
I agree. I love it.
We have been vicariously living through others' adventures. Big, huge shout out to all of you who have shared. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We read these and they fill our hearts with joy and gratitude. And speaking of gratitude, we are wishing you all a super happy Thanksgiving holiday if you're celebrating. And I hope this is an opportunity to lean into love and the human club that all holidays bring up. But I'm so grateful for you, Joy and Rebecca.
Grateful for you both.
Back at you. Glad you're in the club, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
That's life, baby.